When you're in your mid-20s, you really only have three options.
Get married,
Get a master's,
or run a marathon.
Hi, I'm Francis,
And I'm Brian,
and welcome to this week's episode of the Zone 2 podcast.
where we explore all there is to learn about the world of running.
Nice voice crack. So, it's been yet another beautiful week here in Boston, and with that comes another beautiful week of training. And I feel like the weather is finally starting to come around. We're not having any more of those freezing days with like ice storms and snow. And I've actually started wearing shorts and t-shirts a couple of times outside, which is huge for me. But how was your week for training?
Francis, thank you for asking. I have to say, I don't want to jinx it that we're now in the shorts weather, because I'm worried that the Boston weather gods will have heard you say that, and next week there will be another ice storm on the forecast. But I think we're out of the woods. It kind of has that feeling about it. I also told Francis last week that now that I've started wearing shorts, I'm not going back to wearing leggings. I don't care how cold it gets. If it's 30 degrees, I'm wearing shorts when I go out. I'm in that mentality. I'm not taking the leggings back out. My week of training was very good. It's pretty straightforward and uneventful. I feel like life other than training was very busy last week, so I kind of had to be a little flexible and fit my runs in where I did. I had a 46-mile week. I didn't actually do any scheduled speed workouts, but I did have a couple really good runs, did some faster runs, which I feel like made up for my lack of speed workouts a little bit, but didn't get any track time last week, so I'm hoping to get out to the track tomorrow night to get some work in. But I did do a 3-hour time on feet long run on Saturday, which took me about 22 miles. I just went out and did laps of Fresh Pond. So
that's the furthest you've ever run.
That is, in fact, the furthest I've ever run.
Damn,
I was
good for you,
seeing
man.
God by the end of it, which made it a little hard to imagine going 4 miles further than that. But that's also on tired training legs with a lot of stuff going on and without a taper. So I know it'll be a little bit different on race day. Shout out to Rachel and Francis and Devin, who both joined me in the middle for a few miles at Fresh Pond. But the legs recovered well. I went out for a run today, and they didn't hurt at all. So it's kind of cool to feel like I did 22 miles 2 days ago, and I feel normal today.
Yeah, I felt like that was a really fun workout for me, because I was doing a speed workout. You were just doing laps. How many laps of Fresh Pond did you end up doing, actually?
I did the math. I think I did 7 laps of Fresh Pond.
Literally the definition of insanity.
It is.
You know what that is? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you do
as long as you know.
You do the same thing over and over and expect a different result.
I don't know if you were expecting different results.
I knew the result I was expecting. It was to run for 3 hours straight, and that was the result I got.
Wow. Your hypothesis was proven correct.
It was. It's good science. Anyway, but that was my week of training, Francis. It was very nice seeing you out at Fresh Pond and going for a run with you on Friday, even though I know it wasn't your favorite. But how was your week of training?
I'm glad you mentioned that Friday run, because we'll touch on that. But it was good. I had a good week of training. Wednesday I had a workout, which I was super happy about, but also a little scared of when I was doing it. It was a pretty straightforward 2-mile warm up, 4x1.5. at a 6:30, 6:45 pace with 2-minute quote-unquote recovery at a 7:30 pace. So that was a total of like 11.8 miles. And then Thursday I did around 9 miles easy with some friends. Friday I had about 8 miles with you, which was probably the worst run I've been on in this training cycle.
Running with me can't be that
No,
bad.
It wasn't because of you, although that was definitely part of it. I think it was the fact that I didn't drink any water all day, I didn't eat any food all day, and I was also had not stretched all day. And it's funny because I have this Post-it note next to my computer on my desk that says, "Are you hydrated? Did you eat enough? Have you stretched?" And then the last question is, "How was your run?" And so I think we answered that question, and now I know exactly what happens when I don't do any of those 3 things. Yeah, I have a bad run.
But you still got the run in, even though you weren't feeling up for it.
Yeah, that's true. That's the important thing. And yeah, it was definitely a struggle. But sometimes you just have runs that suck. And I was like very vocal about that too on Strava. I was like, sometimes it sucks for no reason. Although in this case, there was 3 very clear reasons why it wasn't good.
That were entirely your fault.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it happens, whatever. I'm over it. And then Saturday, yeah, I ran with Brian, Devin, and Rachel down at Fresh Pond for a little bit. That was a 7-mile cut down. So it went from a 7:25 pace, and then each mile got progressively faster, kind of stepping down each mile down to a 6:25 pace. One of the things that I thought was kind of cool, though, was how Strava shows you, after a year, runs that you've done exactly a year prior. And it was kind of cool to see a run that I had done back in 2024 around the same time, literally the same week, same day. I think it was like the 16th of March. And it was like a 3.1 mile run that I had done like just around my neighborhood. Was running at like a pretty slow pace, had like a relatively high heart rate. And to kind of see that and think about all the progress I've made over the course of just a year, that was really heartening to see. And it was nice to be able to kind of reflect on all the hard work that I've done and the consistency and how results are there. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but as long as you stick with it, it will happen.
And that's some good inspiration to kind of help keep you going, too.
Of course, yeah. And then rounded it out with a little 8-mile easy run on Sunday after some St. Patty's Day festivities. The weather's been really nice. It's nice to be able to wear shorts and t-shirts. When it got really cold, I realized I didn't have enough cold weather gear. I didn't have enough running tights. So I went out and bought a bunch of running tights. Now I have too many running tights. And now I don't have enough shorts and I don't have enough t-shirts. So here I am just buying clothes that I need in season, which seems like a terrible financial decision and very ill prepared of me. But before you know it, we're going to be going out and running, probably in July when it's 90 degrees out. The past few days have offered glimpses into the spring. Rain instead of snow, 60 degrees instead of 20. But with that promise of spring comes the implication of summer. And unless you commit to running at 5 in the morning before the sun fully rises, you could be running in the spicy range of between 80 and 100 degrees, especially during the months of July. Distance runners love a cool, overcast day, and here up in the Northeast, we don't really have to contend with the heat all that much. But as we know, running takes grit, and you need to be able to run in horrible conditions like these. But imagine running in consistent 100 plus degree days back to back. As a Texas native, our guest today is no stranger to these conditions. Hot or cold, he's going to be out there powering through, and even when the going gets tough. Please welcome former UT Austin track runner, marathoner, and mental health advocate, Tommy Hinojosa. Welcome to the podcast, Tommy.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited about this.
Tommy's our first guest coming on from a distance over a Skype call, so we're excited to have you on and get chatting with you. So why don't we jump right into it? Tommy, I'm meeting you for the first time right now. I'm wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about how you made your way into running.
Yeah, I guess my first introduction to running started with my dad. He did a lot of like marathons when I was, I want to say 7 or 8. So around that age range, you just kind of pick it up because I would see him go out for runs and then he'll come back all sweating. And it's just like, hey, where'd you go? And he's like, oh, I just had a long run. And it's just, I guess, subconsciously attached itself to me. So growing up, I was always a part of like organized sports. I leaned towards soccer. So a lot of running in that. Not, I wouldn't say it's the same running, but definitely just that aerobic endurance definitely got used. And then it wasn't until high school, my soccer coach at the time, he was like, hey, you should join cross country to kind of be in shape for when soccer season came around. And so I remember that first year doing it, we had a like, I want to say it was like a training camp before school started, and we would go out for like 5 miles, maybe 6. And I just remember coming home and just being so sore and just being like, why am I doing this? Just get through the season, and then come soccer season, I'll be able to I'll be fit. And so I think that's when my running kind of started. It wasn't until I want to say my sophomore year in high school that I kind of was taking running a little bit more seriously, just doing track, cross country, and soccer at the same time. Just my body just couldn't do it. So at that point, I was kind of like, it's either one or the other, one or the other. So I felt like running would probably be a little bit. I could probably go further in that, honestly. So stick with running, and I mean, with the help of like my friends on the team, just the community around it, it was able to smooth the transition from soccer to into running. So that's basically how it started.
So you talk about having to make the choice between soccer and running, and I think it's interesting. You're not the first person that actually has had almost the exact same experience with starting with soccer and then using running as a way to stay in shape for soccer and then falling in love with running. And you talk about thinking, okay, maybe I can go a little bit further in running.
Hmm.
Was there also like an element of, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, did you like the sport more, or was it that you saw the potential that you had to achieve it at a higher level in running than you could at soccer?
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit of both. I think that first year that I joined cross country, my freshman year, I went in there not expecting anything. I just kind of was like just show up and then just do what I need to do and then just go home and just be super just tight everywhere. It wasn't until we started doing like time trials like towards the beginning of the season and I was hitting times that were like I didn't really know where they were in comparison to like where everyone was. It was my coach being like, hey, if you keep on putting a little bit more effort, working on like stretching, working on like doing core and stuff, you could hit some pretty serious times. And then as the season went on, I was able to be on the varsity team and just, I guess, having like those older guys, they're all around like juniors and seniors. And they were just like, kind of just like telling me to stay with it, not really like let go of it. And I was, again, that first year was tough because I was just like, oh, man, this is too much work. But it wasn't until my sophomore year where I was kind of like, I can't do both because I would wake up in the morning, go to cross country practice, and then sometimes like 2 or 3 times out of the week, I would go to practice for soccer or I have a game on the weekends, and I was just always just tired all the time. I did pick up a couple of injuries from doing both of them at the same time. I did like fracture my foot, and so realistically, I was like, it's one or the other. That's when I started like weighing my options. It was like with soccer, best I can do is play at like a D3 school. But with running, a little bit more. Actually didn't really come into my mind as to like my future until like my junior year. But I thought realistically with soccer, I can only go to like the end of high school for it. So I was like, with running, if I stick with it, I could run the rest of my life. Um, it was tough because I think I like playing soccer more than I do running. I mean, I love running, but it just shows like how much I love playing soccer. But it was tough. But I definitely think I made the right choice when it comes to just longevity wise, just making sure my knees still work by the time I'm 35. That's like pretty much how I chose.
So it's interesting hearing you talk about being tired all the time and kind of having to choose between running and soccer. So
Yeah.
right now, Francis and I are both in our first ever marathon training cycles. So I'm finding running 6 days a week really doesn't leave you a whole lot of time for much else in terms of activities. But I'm also a soccer guy, like big soccer fan, and I like to play pickup several times a week. And it's been a little upsetting kind of having to give that up over this training cycle just to make space for all this running. And I think ideally I would be able to find a balance. But then as you talk about too with soccer, especially, and you have a lot of quick direction changes, you're really opening yourself up to the risk of injuries, and knee injuries obviously are super common with soccer players. So it's tough having to make that choice, but it's cool that you did find what would work for you and look ahead to being a track runner. So your event was the mile, is that correct?
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about what it was like, I guess, making that transition from a high school runner to running for a D1 school in terms of intensity and in terms of, I guess, just the role that running kind of played in your life?
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a huge difference. I would say I was pretty serious when it came to like making sure I got my runs in, make sure I did the proper like stretching and stuff in high school, but I mean, at the most I was running maybe 45 miles a week. So, it wasn't anything too crazy. Once I got to UT, it was I want to say we were having maybe 70 to 80 miles a week, and it was nonstop. It was every day was got to do something, and if we didn't run that many miles that day, we would be in the weight room lifting. So it was just the volume changed. Like, it was basically twice as much as what I was used to. And I went in thinking, hey, I'm gonna just be middle distance. I'm gonna do 800, mile, maybe even some steeple if they really wanted me to. But I went in and they were like, hey, we're gonna train you for like 10K, 5K. So we got to get your miles up. We got to get your base at a higher level. And it was just, I'm telling you, every day was at least 10 miles. It was tiring.
Did you have a role in that decision, or did you just go in and they told you this is what you're running?
Yeah, I mean, the coach that recruited me ended up getting let go. Like, the whole staff at UT got let go that year. I don't want to get too much into it, but like the head coach got into some trouble, so they had to, just clean house. New coach came in, so it was definitely a tough getting used to just like a different coach and like just trying to like see what his plan was, especially because they're incentivized for their athletes to do as well. They get paid out with certain achievements from the athletes. So that first year, he went in and he was just like, I'm gonna group you up with the longer stuff. And so, you know, didn't really work out, in terms of two personal people. I feel like we clashed a lot. I did get sick my freshman year. I did get mono, and that was, don't get mono. If you ever get the chance, just don't get it. I ended up losing
I've
like,
gotten it once and it sucked.
yeah, yeah, like it was like the two worst weeks of my life. I lost like 10 pounds in 7 days,
Oh my
and
god.
I just didn't want to eat. I just couldn't do anything. And then they were like, "Oh, you can't really like work out because your spleen might explode. So you just got to kind of like rest and stuff." And so definitely got a little bit isolated from the team. My teammates, honestly, greatest dudes I've ever met. Real nice people. Honestly, they made me not hate running because that whole situation with UT, it was kind of like it just got kind of messy. So they were just really great guys, and so that's why I like running is the community that you build. You can meet people that you never meet. Just like everyone's a little bit weird, but in their own way, and it's refreshing to meet new people that are we all like to run, so it can't really like clash heads too much. But yeah, I mean, I never really recovered. I was never really in my coach's plan, so it never really worked out from running. And so that was a big hit to just who I was because I had been running for like 4 years straight, and like that had been like what I was, kind of like my personality for a long time. And so to like have someone be like, "Hey, it's not gonna work out," maybe later it'll work out, but they kind of left me down slowly, which is it's okay, but it did like affect how I looked at running and just like in general of like just how I went through everything because I again running had been like such a huge part of my life, and now it's like I don't have to do it anymore. So figuring out being able to come back running for the love of running was a big part of like getting back into my running. So it's just a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's horrible that you had to go through that experience of being ill. And as you said, running was such a big part of your life, even just being at that point as a collegiate athlete, running 70, 80 miles a week. You're spending so much time training, and your whole life kind of revolves around it that I'm sure not having the ability to run or train or compete as you wanted to, and it sounds like you kind of felt like you were expected to. Felt like, I think you said it felt like the rug was like ripped out from under you, like you just were totally kind of left to your own devices. So we found this article about the experience of athletes at the University of Texas talking about mental health and training. There was something in here about your experience and how when you're trying to recover from this illness, you kind of can't muscle through it because your body needs to heal all the way. And taking that time takes a toll on your mental health, not just your physical health. Obviously, you're sick, you're losing weight, but your mental health as well. So you're probably battling with feeling that training leaving your legs and kind of losing that ability that you had and that was essentially your livelihood. I mean, you're a D1 athlete and you're there on a scholarship. So I'm wondering if you could just talk a little bit about what that experience was like working through that and I guess your experience as a collegiate athlete and how they supported you, or it sounds like maybe the lack of support that you felt kind of going through that.
Yeah. I mean, again, with such a sickness like mono, like they just want you to sit and like not do anything. And so I feel like, especially when I got it, I had just like my roommate had just left the team. So I was in my dorm just by myself. And at this time, it was just like, I can't go to practice because they were off campus. So it was like, don't go to practice. If you show up, you can't really do anything. So just kind of like go to school, basically. And so, and of course, it was tough going into these classes because it was like outside of like my classmates, it was like I don't really know these people, so it was like kind of didn't really talk to anybody that whole time. It felt like my coach never really wanted to check in on me. I felt kind of isolated, and I think that's the biggest part of just like being alone at that time was not only did I go to school for running, but I also was going to school. So outside of like going to class, doing my homework, what else was there to do? And so I had friends outside of running in school that I would hang out with, but at the end of the day, I'd have to go home and then like wake up alone. And then it just felt like that continuity that I had built throughout the summer and like the beginning part of the semester with all like my teammates, with my coaches, it kind of just like all like fizzled out until like the second semester. And so whenever the second semester came around, that's whenever they were just like trying to get me back into running. But I've been off since I want to say like mid October, October to like beginning of February, around that time, just off, just not doing anything. I had zero endurance for anything. Um, just it was difficult, and I think it kind of ruined running for me in a sense because it was such a big part of my life. And then to be again, like you said, have the rug pulled underneath me, and then it's kind of like, what do I do now? You know, go to school, that's cool, but I kind of want to run, I kind of want to compete, and then just to slowly realize that hey, this is probably not going to work out between me and the school. Kind of like again, it's like, what do I do? So it did ruin running for me for a little bit. I went into, I want to say whenever I got, healthy enough to start running again, I got into like a, I'm gonna show them up. I'm gonna prove them wrong kind of attitude. Looking back at it, it was kind of like you know, instant gratification. That's my little motivation at the moment. But looking back at it, it's not sustainable just to run angry. And so as I've gotten older, I've been able to just come back to just enjoying running. Why I just liked it from the beginning. It's freeing. It does give me time to think. I think gives me time to learn my body a little bit better, understand like, hey, there's something wrong. Just peaceful. I think going back, I just found peace in running. So I think as I've transitioned from this like super ultimate competitor to running out of anger, now I've come back to just like finding peace in my running.
I think it almost seems like a relationship that you would even have with a person. You go through this really tough like breakup almost, and you kind of have that moment that what is it? It's 5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially when something plays such an important role in your life and is the sole thing that you're building every day around, to have that all of a sudden disappear, it's almost like losing a loved one to an extent and trying to find meaning in something. And it sounds like there was the running itself and the competition itself in the program, but it sounds like that was pretty much it. There wasn't as much of like the community aspect, like you were saying, the coach not checking in.
Yeah.
Just sort of maybe leaving it a little bit hollow. And that's really tough to hear because I know Brian and I, we found, at least in our own amateur running, that like it's such a community, and running can be so good for your mental health, but also when it is just about the competition and it's just about the times and that's it. It can sometimes hurt the mental health a little bit more than help because that's like the only thing you're focusing on. But one of the things that does help your mental health sometimes is purchasing shoes. Is that a good?
Retail therapy.
You think that's a good transition? Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. So you have like a crazy background of just like having this innate ability to run. And even though you took a couple years off of running, you're kind of getting back into it now. You ran a half marathon. I remember you posting on Strava, and you came in like 6th place or something recently, or was it a couple months ago?
It was the San Antonio Rock and Roll Marathon or half marathon. It's the last one that they're gonna have. So went out with a bang. I ran like I want to say an hour and 17 minutes. It's a good
That's
starting point
crazy.
for where I want to be. It's a good starting point where I want to be.
I'll say. So, and I guess approaching the races and the training now as an individual, not attached to a team, and running for the sake of running and for the health benefits, for the mental health benefits, for the love of the sport, and for the deeper connection that you have to it. How would you say that racing has changed?
Yeah, I mean, back then it was just trying to be better than everyone else. I'm super competitive. I try not to be as competitive now because it could just seem like that Kobe Mamba mentality. I don't think that's a healthy way to look at anything. But whenever it is like race time, I kind of dip back into that where it's me versus everyone else. And that's why I think I liked running from the start. It's an individual sport. I know it for like cross country and track you score as a team, but at the end of the day, it's 1v1 kind of. And so I do miss that part. Now that I've transitioned into my master's division,
I don't know if
now
you're
it's
quite there yet. You have a couple more years to go.
yeah. um now it's just kind of like trying to tap into it, but that's not really the goal. I think right now it's just trying to complete these races. One of my big goals is trying to do all the major marathons around the world. And so I just want to get fit so I can qualify for all of these times or all of the races. And so now I run just to enjoy it, try to stay healthy. I'm not going to try and win the thing. I don't think that's realistic anymore. I think now it's just
I think
Yeah, I think you could do it.
a 117 half marathon. That's for your first one back. That's not bad.
yeah.
That's
Well, we'll keep it open. We'll see how well I do. It is taxing now that I'm a little bit older, a little bit more responsibilities, trying to find the time for it. Back then, that's all I did. Eat, sleep, ran. Now it's like gotta fit it in with work, gotta fit it in with different engagements that I have. So running right now it's just a hobby. I know it's kind of cool to be running now. Back when I was running, it was nerdy. Only cross country kids ran. So it's kind of cool now seeing that running is the big thing now. So I've been able to see the difference, but right now it's just out of enjoyment.
So we talked before about some of the, I guess, how running or not being able to run when you're sick or if you're injured, and how that can kind of affect your mental health. And that's something I think I've talked to people who are kind of going through that process of being injured. You can't run while you're injured, and you're just like, it hurts to not be able to do that, especially as you were saying before, when that's such a big part of your life. But I'm wondering if you could shed a little bit of light on the positive benefits of running in terms of mental health, and how I guess that has affected you now, especially now that you have this new approach to running, and that running sounds like it's now playing a new role in your life.
Yeah, I think I like running so much in the fact that it gives me time to think. Everyone says I hit flow state. I hit flow state. For me, I feel like flow state is just being able to like not even realize you're running, just to be so deep in thought that hey, I'm not even running right now. And so I think being able to tap into that, just like that whole, I want to again gonna say flow state. I don't know if that's exactly what it is, but runner's high, people call it runner's high. Just being able to get so lost in thought, being able to just think about things, think, just get into a train of thought and then just realize, hey, I just ran like 2 miles. I feel like for me personally, I feel like that's very helpful just to like think things through. I feel like a lot of today's thinking is fast action, instant gratification. With running, there is no instant gratification. It's delayed. It's delayed in a way. You go through several weeks of training just to delay your race, delay the fact that hey, right now sucks, and so just being able to repeat everything, go on a run, rest, go on a run again, rest, having a great mental space, I would say is probably my favorite part about running.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think it's something to look forward to as well. I'm sure if you're having a bad day, or if you're stuck inside and you just can't get out of your own head, being able to put your shoes on and get out the door and go is just like, that can make a world of difference and totally change your headspace, and gives you something to accomplish that day too, I think, getting out and running.
Yeah, I mean, even if you have a really bad day, go out for a run and then like, hey, I got a run in. It could have been worst day ever, but I did get my miles in, so it can't be that bad. I am still moving forward in the right direction.
Yeah, so I've done a little bit of research, you could say, and I've looked into your file. And I'm just curious because I don't have a mile split premium account or anything like that, so I can't like see all of your times. But I'm just curious, what is your mile PR?
My mile PR is, I want to say, 4 minutes and 15 seconds,
Holy
Oh
shit.
somewhere
my
around
god,
there.
that's pretty fast.
Yeah,
And I
my goodness.
talk about breaking six this year, low 530s or something. That 415 is that's insane. Wow.
Yeah, bro. That day was unbelievably hot. It probably was like 103 degrees outside, and then I want to say 117 on the track. So I was just trying to get off the track as fast as possible. I was,
That'll make you run. That'll make you run.
yeah,
You're,
there's
so you're running from something there.
exactly. I'm running from bro. My feet felt like they're on fire. I was so done after that race, but it was fun. It was definitely fun to run that fast.
Well, you bring up an interesting point because you're in Texas
Hmm.
and you're training all year round. How do you train in the summer? Because it's there's like streaks where it won't go below 100 degrees for like 16 days or something. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's you got to get up early in the morning. If you want to get a long run done, you got to get up really early. I want to say running anytime after 10:30 is, hey, got to check on someone because that is
Check on someone.
he you might not come back if you go
Oh my god.
at 10:30. It gets hot and it's humid too, so it just saps all the moisture from your just everywhere. You're just so dehydrated afterwards. You kind of get used to it. That's why I feel like personally Texas runners, they might be the best in the world. Yeah, I might
Okay, okay.
That's it. Yeah.
ooh. Yeah, a lot of hydration. Honestly, however much water you think you need, you probably need more. You're probably going to be super dehydrated, and then probably letting someone know you're going to go on a run. Because there's been some times when I've gone out and I was like, I need to stop right now. Or I'm gonna just pass out. So,
That's crazy.
it gets hot.
That's crazy. That's something I never have had to think twice about in Boston. Even when it's like freezing cold or windy, I've never once been like, "Hey,
Someone
Francis,
pick me
like
up.
if
Yeah.
I'm not back in an hour, like come pick me up because I'm freezing on the side of the road." But that really is something, especially like if you're dehydrated. Like I feel like if you're dehydrated and it's 80 degrees out, you can still muscle through a few miles and get home. But
Yeah.
if it's 100, 110, and you stop or you sit down somewhere, like
You
how
might
quickly you
not
could
be
like
coming
You're still
back.
pass out.
cooking. You're still cooking. That's
Yeah.
the thing. You think you're done, like you stop. You're still in the sun, just getting cooked alive. But
How much salt are you taking in, like on a daily
ooh,
basis?
ooh, I probably hit during the summer. I'll probably hit one of those element packets. Have you ever had an element?
1,000 milligrams
Yeah, I hit one of those before I go out on a run.
before you go out. I've used half of one of those after like a really long run, and even then I could barely drink the entire thing.
Hmm.
I was like, damn, this
It's
is just
just
salt water.
yeah, you just got to get as much fluids inside of you.
That's like it's like running on another planet. I feel like at that point. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Have you thought?
Guys running on the surface of Venus over here.
Yeah, seriously. Have you heard of like the Death Valley Marathon, where there's people who will run 26.2 miles through Death Valley? It's like 125, 130 degrees.
Nah, no,
I feel like your
no,
shoes would
there's
literally
no
melt.
No,
way.
they
There's no
do.
way.
Yeah,
I
I think
couldn't.
David Goggins did that.
See, that's next level. That's next level, man.
So Tommy, I bet your shoes probably don't last as long as ours do because the rubber probably melt.
Yeah.
But I'm curious if you could tell us a little bit about what shoes you're wearing right now, or if you have a bit of a rotation going, or what's on your feet.
Yeah. So depending on, what I'm trying to hit, if it's a long run, I'll probably go with the Asics Super Blast 2s. I just picked up my first pair, I want to say at the beginning of like I want to say October. I use that for the majority of my runs on for my half. Right now I'm just kind of using them for long runs. For everyday miles, easy miles, I'm running in the Adidas SL Evos. Pretty good. They'll do for now. I don't know if they're gonna make it to a second pair. I think those might be
Let's not
a
let Devin
regret.
hear that.
Yeah, the last guy we had on was a huge fan of the Evo SLs to the point where he bought 3 pairs.
Nice. I wouldn't.
Okay. No, I appreciate it. No, yeah, I'm curious because I've heard of so many good things. It's interesting to hear.
I mean,
No, I like them. It's just I feel like whenever I'm trying to pick up speed, I feel like I'm not getting enough snap. I feel like
Mm,
the rods that they have in there aren't as as great as say like a speed 4. I feel like the speed 4's plate might be a little bit better than
that's what I'm
the.
saying. That's what I've been saying that.
And then for like easy runs, I got the Mizuno Neo Speeds, super
nice.
soft. I'm not, or the Neo Zens, I think, super soft, kind of like a knitted upper. I don't want to run fast in those. I think those are just to get the slow miles in.
Have you run in the Sky Paris, the Asics Sky Paris?
Yeah, those are my racing shoes.
What do you think of those?
I love them. I love them,
Yeah.
man. I think they're nice and soft, but they're not like super soft. Like
Okay.
they're pretty firm. I feel like the plated shoe automatically gonna make you an Olympic athlete. So
Yeah.
I really like them. I'm gonna run them to the ground. I do have a race coming up in the beginning of April, the
Mhm.
Cap 10K in Austin, and so I'm gonna use those ones probably for the race, aiming for sub 33. Hopefully they can get me there.
That's
That's
insane.
pretty good. I love how, and obviously it's probably from your perspective, you're just like, oh, like sub 33 because you've been running at such a high level for so long. But like we hear something like that, and we're just like, I wish I could run a sub 33
Yeah, Tommy, I was
10K.
I was stoked when I ran a sub 25K.
I
Hey,
know.
that's fast. That's fast. That's if you
Don't
really think
flatter
about
me.
it.
You're
If you really think about it, out of all the people in the world, I bet you less than 1% can run
yeah, but out
faster
of
than
all
that.
the people on this pod,
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I guess it's perspective. It's perspective.
Yeah, yeah, true, 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 true. Wow. So, desert island, you can bring one piece of running gear with you. What are you bringing?
One piece of running gear. Oof. I would have to say a good pair of shoes. I don't think you need a watch. I think we're slaves to the watch sometimes, slaves to
Mm.
Strava.
Mm.
And I feel like, especially now in this social media era of running, everyone wants to, ooh, I got 10 miles exactly. When realistically, if I'm short, I'm going to cut it short. But good pair of shoes. I don't have that. I'm not going to run barefoot. I'm not going to last long without a good pair of shoes.
I like you talking about the 10 miles even. I feel like I have a respect for people when I see on Strava and they upload a run at 9.99 miles. Francis has done that a few times, and I'm like,
Nice.
he doesn't care what anyone thinks. He's just stopping
Yeah,
the walk when he's
exactly.
done.
I like
I
that.
like
I
it.
like that.
Yeah. No, that's a good energy to be bringing. This is awesome, Tommy. We really appreciate you taking the time to hop on with us and talk about your experience as a collegiate runner, talk about mental health and the role that kind of plays in running and how that relates to your running career, and also talk about running now. And we understand you have a marathon coming up this year as well.
Yeah, well, I appreciate y'all having me. My big marathon is going to be the Houston Marathon in 2026. So fingers crossed. I'm gonna try to do a 240 and lower. Anything 240 and I'd be happy with that.
I
But
think you
it's a
can do it.
process. It's a process. It's a process. Right now,
Right, right,
ask me
right.
right now. No, I can't do it. But
Right.
wait,
I
but I'll
think
come back
actually,
on. I'll come back
yeah,
on to let y'all know how it went.
seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah, please. That would be awesome to do like a before and after.
Yeah.
240. You heard it here, folks. He said 240. We'll hold you to it.
There you go. Awesome. Well, we don't want to keep you any longer, Tommy, but it's been awesome chatting with you and catching up, and we look forward to hearing about your races to come.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out on Strava and see you running in the pressure cooker that is Texas.
Oh yeah.
Today's guest was marathoner and former D1 runner Tommy Hinojosa. Be sure to tune in next week when we welcome our guest, founder and supreme leader of the Castle Island Track Club, Nora Johnson. But before we take off, Brian, do you have a fun fact for us?
Francis, I'm so glad you asked. So, on this day that we're recording, St. Patrick's Day, I have a fact about St. Patrick himself.
Oh, how seasonal.
Did you know that St. Patrick wasn't Irish? He was British.
What?
And his name wasn't even Patrick.
What was his name?
His name was Maewyn Succat. And if you have a problem with how I pronounce that, you can keep it to yourself. Thank you all for listening to the Zone 2 podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at the Zone 2 podcast. You can catch new episodes every Wednesday streaming on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.